Welcome to our channel. Today I will narrate the story sent by you again. Hello, I don't know where to start. I am 37 years old now, a mother of 2 children. My story began when I was 3 years old. My sibling and I were orphaned at a young age. We were 3 and 2 years old. We lost our mother to cancer. Then our father remarried since there was no one else to take care of us. I wish he hadn't remarried. Our stepmother, she never liked me since the day she came. What could a 3-year-old child have done? Time passed. We grew up. I was 9 or 10 years old. Every night she would make me sleep on the floor. Sleeping on the couch was forbidden because I used to wet it. My stepmother wouldn't let me sleep on the couch. I missed sleeping on the couch. These were my experiences. It started at this age of mine. We lived in a shanty. It had a huge garden and it had a door like a mansion's gate. There used to be Amy Aunt in our neighborhood at that time. She used to live with her daughter-in-law. My friend came to me and said, "Look, they dug up Amy Aunt's house." What did they find? Of course, I said. The child was right. I went out of curiosity and looked. There were a lot of human corpses. My God, I said, what is this? I shivered suddenly. I heard the neighbors and the diggers talking there. It turned out there were graves under our houses. They were digging them up and removing them. I don't know what they're going to do now. The child was right, of course. I didn't care much that day, so it passed. I came home, it was evening. I lay down in my own bed again. I saw grandfather in my dream. He had white hair, a cane, and a radiant face. He said to me, "Don't be afraid, I'll protect you. But if you saw the house, it's so green, I can't describe it." I was scared at first, of course. Then he approached me, stroked my hair, looked into my eyes, and left. He disappeared suddenly, everything around turned pitch black. I woke up and started crying suddenly. I called out to my father. My father loved me very much, he only liked his daughter. He came to me right away. "What happened?" he said. "Dad," I said, an old bearded grandfather came to me. He said, "Don't be afraid," but I was very scared. "Sleep beside me," I said. "Okay, my girl, don't be afraid, I'm here," he said, and I fell asleep. That night passed like that. I couldn't sleep the next night either. I lay down, but I couldn't fall asleep. Since we lived in a shanty, our bathroom was in the garden. Anyway, water sounds started coming from there around 3 in the morning. "My God," I said, "where is this water sound coming from?" I looked, my father and stepmother were asleep too. I stretched my head out of the window and looked, no one was there. I got scared again. Of course, I called out, "Dad." My father got up. "What happened, my girl?" he said. "Dad, water sounds are coming from the bathroom, as if someone is bathing," I said. "There's nothing, my girl," my father said. "You've had a dream again." Anyway, that night passed like that, but now something happened to me every night. Then one night I was sleeping again, I felt a darkness over my head. I opened my eyes and looked, the person speaking was my mother. She was dressed in all white, she was so beautiful. By the way, I never saw my mother, I don't even remember her, I just recognize her from pictures. Anyway, she said to me, "Get up, my girl, I'll take you for a walk." "My parents won't let me." "How will I come?" I said. "You come," she said. Of course, there's a longing for a mother, I missed her so much at that time. My mother took my hand and took me for a walk, but we were walking, we were flying, I swear to you, I don't remember ever being so happy in my life. I roamed the sky with my mother, it was almost dawn. My mother brought me back to my bed, laid me down, kissed me. "I'll come again," she said. "Don't be sad," and she left. I woke up in the morning, I didn't know if it was a dream or real, but I was so happy. I ran to my father. "Dad, my mother came last night, she took me for a walk, we went up to the sky together," I said. My father laughed. You've had a dream, he said. No, I said, it was real. My father said that the dead cannot come. I cried and cried. I swear she came, I said. After that, every night my mother's visits expanded, and she said to me, don't tell anyone that I walked with you, she said. Look, your father didn't believe you anyway, she said. Okay, Mom, I won't say it again, I said. Days and weeks passed. One day I was playing outside with friends. It was evening prayer time. Someone called my name. Let my name be Annabelle. Annabelle, Annabelle, he said. When I turned around, it was my mother. Come, she said, let's go for a walk now. I said, everyone will see now. Come, she said, calling again. Okay, I said. There was a slope there. I was running to my mom from that slope, and then a voice behind me shouted Annabelle more loudly. I looked back. It was my father. Where to, my daughter? Come here, he said. My mom was calling. Dad, I said. When I turned around, my mom was gone. My dad came running to me, hugged me. I was crying. I was going with my mom, I said. Then my dad said, my dear, I miss your mother so much. You started to see visions. Let's pray together for your mother, he said. Okay, I said. We went home, and my mom never came again after that day. Years passed. I turned 15 to 16. One day I'm looking in the mirror. My mother's face appeared. Before I could say Mom, my mother's face became so hideous that I screamed all of a sudden. I didn't know how I got inside. Since that day, I never look in the mirror in the evenings. Anyway, time passed. Meanwhile, my stepmother treated me very badly. I won't go into too much detail, but believe me, that woman who ruined my life. She tortured me in ways you couldn't imagine. Then, my mother's father, my grandfather, called me. My dear, come to us, he said. I went, and he said, look, my dear, you've suffered enough from this woman. I have a suitor, let's marry you to him. He's a very good boy, he said. I was so tired at that time. I said, whatever God wills. I said, let's see. We went for tea in the evening. They invited us for tea. We're distant relatives, but I don't know my husband's family at all. My husband used to pass by our house. I would see him, but I didn't know we were relatives. He would see me too. Anyway, we went in the evening. They all came one by one. When his brother saw me, he said, I know you. I said, you too. But we had never spoken a word to each other. His brother's wife was also there. She looked at us in a strange way. How do you know each other? She said. Brother, he used to pass by our house. I would see him, but we never talked. I said. His brother also said, yes, that's right. Anyway, my husband and I saw each other. We liked each other. God had written it, but how could I know that I would be caught in a storm while escaping from the rain? We got engaged, and then I made a mistake. May God forgive me. My stepmother is a disgusting person. She said to me, you love this boy. I'll tell you something, but you'll do it. I said, okay. I'm only 16. Look, she said, make him drink this. If you make him drink it, he'll love you more. He'll never leave you, she said. Ow. I said, he's disgusting. How can I do this? Do what I said. Nothing will happen, she said. Of course, I am a person who grew up hungry for love. I said let him love me very much, but how could I know this spell would ruin my life? Okay. I said, how do I do it? Invite him home. I'll leave the house, get some cola, pour it into a glass, mix his blood into it. A drop or two will be enough, she said. Okay. I said. I called my husband. I did exactly what she said, even telling it hurts me, but finally, I could make him drink it. I understood my stepmother's intention years later. She made me do this so that I would never come back to this house, so that my father would be left to her. May God forgive me. I'm so ashamed of what I did. Anyway, the wedding time came and we got married. I'm lying in bed on our wedding night, but I couldn't sleep. Suddenly, at the foot of my bed, a white thing appeared. It was my mother. Her figure was tall again. She looked at me so beautifully. "Mom," I said, "you came back to me after years." Smiling, she just shook her head and disappeared. Then I got pregnant. I had a very difficult pregnancy. We were newly married with my husband, but every day was spent crying. That night while sleeping, I couldn't figure out why until morning, and I got pneumonia. It was such a harsh winter month, I can't describe it. It was January already. My child had turned upside down in my womb because of my coughing. They didn't even take me to the hospital until I had contractions, and when I had contractions, I gave birth prematurely, and I held my baby in my arms. I was very happy because I was not alone anymore. After this birth, my life completely changed. I started hearing voices at night. I was called by my name every day, but I didn't care. Then I started seeing strange dreams. I saw that everywhere was full of snakes. Half of them were going towards my child, and half towards me. Suddenly I woke up. I saw different dreams every night: snakes, scorpions, cockroaches. In my room, there was a bathroom, and I was even afraid to open its door. One day I did, but my wife was also there. I asked my wife, "What was here?" My wife said, "We used to bathe here when we were kids." Then I closed it, but it was really bad inside. Whenever I saw it at night, I felt like someone was there, and then I would get scared and hide under the blanket. Then one day, I lay down but couldn't sleep. I swear there was no such sound, but they were banging on the walls of my room with a sledgehammer. Boom, boom. I was so scared that my child cried, but I couldn't even pick her up. My eyes were filled with fear. I was literally frozen. My wife heard her daughter, "Why didn't you take care of the child?" "She's crying," she said. But fear had taken hold of me. I was literally locked in. My wife said, "What happened to you? Didn't you hear? How could they hit with a sledgehammer?" I said, "Nonsense. You must have had a dream. Take the child, nurse her, and go to sleep." Anyway, that night passed like that. Then I started having shortness of breath, as if someone was strangling me. I couldn't breathe. I was passing out, constantly going to the emergency room, getting injections, and coming back. My wife asked the doctor why this was happening, and he said it was psychological. One day I was in the kitchen. Something passed behind me. I said, "Oh my God," but I didn't pay attention. It passed again, and this time I got scared. I quickly went to my wife. "What happened?" she said. "Something passed behind me, twice," I said. "It must be a cat or something," she said. "I don't know, but I got really scared." "Don't be scared, read," she said. "Okay," I said, "but these shadows have started to increase. I get more scary every day." One night again, I put my daughter to sleep, and I was lying down relaxed. They called me again, with my name. I opened my eyes, and a shadow was looking at me from where the bathroom was. I told my wife to get up slowly. She couldn't hear me. Then I said, "Please get up." She woke up and asked what happened. "Look over there, there's a shadow. It's looking at me, calling me," I said. My wife immediately turned on the light, looked, and said there was no one. Again, she said I must have been dreaming. I started crying. "You don't believe me, but someone is there. There are shadows," I said. "Your psychology is really messed up," she said. Then I told my mother-in-law. They took me to a cleric. The cleric said they had possessed me. "What possessed me?" I said. "Jinn," he said. "How could that be? What did I do to attract them?" I said, "You looked in their direction, or someone did black magic, otherwise they wouldn't come," he said. I looked at my wife's face and understood right then it was because of that damn magic. "This happened because I gave her blood to drink," I said. I felt so bad, I blamed myself. "Look at you, you sided with that woman, and God punished you," I said. Anyway, the cleric wrote amulets for me. "Don't take these off your neck. You will be saved with the permission of God," he said. I took the amulets and went home. I never took them off my neck. I was fine at that time. I didn't see any shadows or anything else. I slept peacefully. One day I was going to take a shower, so I took them off, put them on the top of the cabinet. when I came back from the shower, the amulets were gone, they had disappeared. I searched, I combed, I couldn't find them. Anyway, I got dressed, went to my mother-in-law's house. Mom, I took off my amulets to take a bath, but now they're gone, I can't find them, I said. Good job, my clever daughter, they took them, she said. Who took them where? I said. Jinn took them, she said. And they really came back that night. They were looking at me again, but they never showed their faces. I started seeing them as shadows at night. It became forbidden for me to sleep. I couldn't sleep at all. The light stayed on until morning. I would recite Ayat al-Kursi or tell my wife, let me sleep, you sleep like that, I would say. After I fell asleep, my wife would sleep. I started praying so that it wouldn't be night. I was so scared. Anyway, years passed. I had 2 daughters. Then we separated our house. But they never left me. Wherever I went, they went there. I got worse and worse. My daughters grew up. But my troubles didn't end. There wasn't a doctor I didn't go to. Everyone said it was psychological. One night, I was lying down, and my room's door knocked. I opened it, and I was horrified by what I saw. In the corridor, toy dolls were hung on ropes from one end to the other, and blood was dripping from all of them. Oh God, I said, what is this? Shadows were wandering around them. I closed the door immediately, called my wife. Please, wake up, it's all bloody, dolls, I said. My wife got up and looked. There's nothing there, she said. How can there be nothing? I said. Then I looked again. There was really nothing there. It was just appearing to me. I hugged my wife and cried. She, who was good with religious matters, had graduated from an Imam Hadib school. She read to me, holding me, don't be afraid. If you fear them, they will come more. Keep reading constantly, then they won't harm you, she said. One day I was lying down again. It was the month of Ramadan. I saw them again in my dream. They were coming in an army. There were so many of them, I can't explain. They pierced through my wardrobe, but one of them looked like my deceased sister. They were coming towards me, and finally I screamed, I'm not afraid of you, I said, and I started reciting Ayat al-Kursi. Believe me, all of them turned into carrot balls, and they lit up so brightly that they all exploded and turned into ashes, and I woke up, but I was drenched in sweat. My temperature was almost 40 degrees Celsius. That morning I became seriously ill. Beta bacteria was found in my blood. I stayed in the hospital for 15 days, then I came home. They continued to bother me again. I wasn't as well as before. Fainting spells had started. I couldn't breathe. I was having nervous breakdowns. I wasn't myself anymore, and I was going to go to the mountains, saying I would leave the house constantly. Suddenly I would just leave. It was like someone was calling me. Then I would come to myself. How did I get here? I would say. Of course, my husband, the neighbors, always followed me, called after me, but at that moment I wouldn't hear anyone. I would just say I was going to the mountains. Then, as time passed, I wanted to die. One day, I was about to jump from the balcony. My aunt grabbed my arm. What are you doing? Snap out of it. She hit me. I said, I can't take it anymore, Aunt. Life is not meant to be lived in fear like this. But one day I really lost myself and committed suicide. I had taken pills. I'm someone who has attempted suicide 4 times in my life. That day I was in intensive care, then they admitted me to the psychiatric hospital. I'll skip over this part. I don't want to bore you. Of course, they didn't leave me alone there either. I would have crises, scream, they would give me injections and put me to sleep. I stayed in the hospital for 4.5 months, then I got out. I moved my house. I'll skip over this too. I moved to the house I live in now, but they didn't leave me alone even after that. They haunted my daughter too. My daughter is very curious. She's constantly researching them, their tribes and such. Mom, don't do it. Stay away from them. They're not like you think. You'll get hurt, God forbid, I said, but what I said happened. They haunted my daughter too. They left me for a while, didn't come at all, disappeared. Quite well educated, turns out my daughter went after them during that time. We went to a religious leader, and the leader said, they're not yours, they're your mother's Jinn. When you started researching them, they turned to you and left your mother, he said. Then my daughter started having nightmares. I read, blew on her, but I'm not afraid anymore. I've gotten used to living with them. Anyway, my daughter and I started having the same dreams. We would wake up in the morning, look at each other, again, we'd say, and yes, we'd say, we were seeing them at the same time. One day I was lying down. I'm sorry I hadn't taken a ritual bath. I said I'd take a shower in the morning. Half an hour passed. Everyone was asleep, but I wasn't yet. Suddenly the door opened. I heard my daughter's voice. Mom, Mom, come here. But I knew it wasn't my daughter. The tone of voice became thicker, came closer to me. I'm telling you to get up. Why don't you hear me, you filth? Cursed, but it cursed me in ways I couldn't even imagine and started hitting me. I was so stuck in bed that I couldn't even touch the person next to me. I couldn't wake her up. At that moment, a power came to me. I said, in the name of God, threw off the blanket and turned on the light all at once. Then I went to my daughter's room. What happened, honey? I said, someone came earlier. Mom told me to get up. Wasn't it you? She said. They had come to both of us at the same time. I immediately took a shower, performed ablution. I took my daughter with me, started reading, and we fell asleep together. Then some more time passed. I was in emotional turmoil. I was in a void, constantly crying. My husband was indifferent, of course. He didn't even ask, what's wrong? One day I was sleeping. A hooded young man came in my dream. At first I didn't see his face. He knelt in front of the closet. I was crying. He approached me and said he loved me, wiped my tears, hugged and kissed me. I saw that he was so handsome, I can't explain. He kept kissing me again and I became one with him. For 3 days, it came, and throughout that time, I was with it. When it came for the 4th time, it said to me, I will take you to where I live, but you must not speak at all there. Do you understand? It held my hand tightly, and we passed through the wall, entering another realm from within the room. I don't know how to describe it to you. It was like the sky and the earth had merged, a mixture of reddish gray. The surroundings were full of trees, but devoid of leaves, completely dry, and everywhere was filled with garbage and filth. What is this place? I asked, but he gestured for silence. Across from us was a 2-story yellow house, but it was dilapidated. We went inside, and there were rows like school desks, with figures sitting on them. We gave so much that one of them was standing, toweringly tall. Who are these? I asked, but I wish I hadn't. As soon as I asked, they all turned to look at me, their eyes fiery red, so hideous that I screamed. I found myself back in my bed, and it never came again. I truly wanted it to, but it never did. The others keep coming, still disturbing me, but I don't care anymore. You really get used to everything. My daughter had stopped investigating. Last week, I saw her dealing with such things again. Mom, don't, I said. Again, she said. Nothing will happen, she said. And that night they came again in my dream, very crowded. There were Muslims on one side, and there was a non-believing girl, her hair very long, her eyes huge, bright red. She grinned evilly at me, and my daughter was with me, sitting in a chair. Her face was pitch black. That non-believing girl said to me, that girl is mine. I said, I will never give her to you, she is my daughter. Stay away from my daughter, or I'll scratch your body with my nails, I said, and I did. Blood was coming out of her body. At that moment, a huge door like the gate of a mansion opened, and the non-believers came in an army, while the Muslims started saying, Here I am, God, here I am. I said it with them, then I recited the basmala, but my voice faltered halfway. I tried to recite Ayat al-Kursi, but I forgot halfway through, and they told me to tell your daughter not to bother us. I woke up suddenly, my bed was shaking, and when I woke up, I told my daughter about my dream. Please, stay away, I said. I will never forget that night. If you've listened this far, it means you like the story. Don't forget to like and leave a comment before closing. I read all your comments. See you in new stories. Goodbye.